What's good, everybody? Welcome back to season dose of the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Sherman Webb-Middlebrooks, the lifelong Buffalo resident and full-time black man. Got my co-pilot, my player partner here as usual, and a very special guest. We got a great one for you today. If you didn't hit the subscribe button, make sure that you do. Make sure that you like this, and make sure that you share this with somebody who could find some value from the game. We're going to chop it up here in this conversation today. Good brother.
There you go. Welcome back. Antoine Johnson, Program Manager with Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative at Buffalo Prenatal. And like Sherm said, we got a special guest today, Mr. Daniel Robertson.
Yo, what up, y'all? Appreciate y'all having me on. It's good to be here with my brothers. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is a privilege. Even before, I know you're gonna go ahead and get us started on the agenda, but like if you don't know, like these are really like my brothers here. So like I'm excited that we got the good brother Daniel on here, just to chop it up with us, just talking about fatherhood, manhood. These are two men that not only are tremendous fathers, but also out here in these streets trying to save like other people's kids and helping men in the community show up as better men and better fathers. So they out here in the trenches putting this work in with me. These my battle buddies. So it's a privilege to sit on set with y'all today.
Man, I always learn something new from you. Matter of fact, I remember we were sitting in the class, the Nurture Fathers group this past Wednesday, and you were talking about a piece where like, you know, this is the first generation of men that's able, able to like heal and so forth. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. So I heard it from Charlemagne the God, so I like to give credit where it's due. But he was talking about how like we're part of the first generation of people, specifically men, that get to heal. Like from our traumas, heal from like our emotional wounds, and we have the privilege to reflect and with time and space and have conversations like this with our peers, have conversations with generations before us, generations after us. And when I think about people like my pops, like in his mid-60s, like, man, he just trying to enjoy his fourth quarter of life. Like, you know, he healing, counseling, therapy, like that really wasn't part of his makeup. Really wasn't part of the culture when he was coming up. But when we talk about like healing and reflection and triggers and mental health and wellness, like that's a real normal part of our vocabulary now. And I think like us being the first generation to have this privilege to have these kinds of conversations, it's up to us to make this a normal thing for the young folks that's coming after us, to focus on your mental health and wellness. So just really recognizing the moment and the zeitgeist of when we're living.
Hey, there you go. Speaking of that, it's a good segue into a piece that you sent the other day, right? The podcast. Or the panel discussion. So like when you sent that and when you looked through it, like what was going through your mind?
And honestly, I was thinking about the conference, right? Because,
okay.
we're in the process of planning the 5th annual Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative conference, and just seeing them brothers from different backgrounds get up there and just talk about the importance of black men taking care of themselves, addressing the mental health issues. But they did it in such a way that was kind of like the modern version of kind of having that conversation where it seems like, oftentimes we have those conversations, panels can be kind of dry, but they had brothers from just different walks of life. I would have loved to see some younger people on that panel, but I think the conversation and just what they brought to the space was really good. So I wanted to share that with y'all because, the work that we have coming up, it might trigger some thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I was listening to one piece a gentleman was talking about, I forget who it was, and he was talking about how us as men, we have to deal with like our traumas and stuff like that, because if whatever we don't confront or conquer, like we will inevitably pass it down to our kids. And I was like, man, like,
facts.
It made me think about a quote that Pastor Reggie Cox talks about. He does fatherhood work too, and he talks about how whatever we don't confront, whatever we don't confront, we won't conquer, right? And so he talked about that in the context of men dealing with their feelings, their hurt, their traumas, all that stuff, and then when I heard the piece that the gentleman shared, that it's going to be passed on to our kids, like I didn't necessarily think about that before, but that's huge, right? And so they talked about the intergenerational trauma and all that stuff, man. It runs so deep, for us as men and our children.
Yeah, that concept of epigenetics is real. So like you pass that on like in your DNA, like, but also like that's like the internal, but thinking about like the experiential stuff. So what are the things that like So yesterday we took my daughter to the dentist, and she had like a little bit of anxiety about going to the dentist. And I was trying to like figure out like, where is this nervous energy coming from? Like, I don't like have a lot of angst. I love the dentist ever since I was a kid. So I'm like, I don't think she getting this from me. But like, and I find myself getting frustrated, but I'm like, instead of getting like frustrated and thinking there's something wrong, like figure out what's happening. Like stay calm. Don't like project frustration on the kid. You just gonna make it worse doing that. Yeah. She already nervous. Try to figure out like what's going on in her thought process, and maybe you can like interrupt some of those like thoughts that's causing her to feel anxious. But I'm like looking at her mom like, is this your side coming out? Like, is it like, cause it ain't me, but like it's coming from somewhere. And like, instead of just being like, just tough it up. Like, nah, like that's obviously not going to work. Right. So just trying to understand like what's the root of it, so that way we can like really deal with it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's good. That's a good segue into talking about this whole piece around dads and their daughters today, right? So all of us have daughters. Mine is probably the youngest at 3. In fact, this morning I had like a proud dad-daughter moment or whatever, because I was out. Simone came home last night with a flat tire, and I was looking at it. Like, all right. Called the insurance company, because I'm like, I ain't about to do this. Like we don't be having accidents and stuff, thank God. So I'm like, the only thing I really use them for is the tow and when the flat tires. So we paid $220 a month for that. And so, but they ended up playing games, didn't come. I'm like, yo, we got stuff to do. I'll do it myself. Took Isabella out there, and like she was really helping. Like she took some of the lug nuts off. So after you untighten it, then you know what I'm saying, it's right, easy. Right. So she was doing that stuff, and I'm like, yo, this is cool. Yeah. And then the other part I was thinking about, and Simone was like, oh yeah, because I don't know how to change the tire either. I'm like I want her to learn those life skills, right. Because so many times people are like, well, that's for men. Like let a man do that. Like I grew up in a family full of women, and so they always, every time something go wrong, well, call a man. Where your cousin at? I'm like, yo, y'all are fully capable of doing stuff. They would look at me to take out the trash. I was happy to do it. But my female cousin is fully capable. Call her.
Fully capable. Yeah. Equality, right?
So, just thinking about that in relation to how we can equip our daughters in these different ways. Like what are some things that you guys are either doing or thinking about doing or whatever?
Well, I mean, that in particular, like, I don't know how to change a tire. So, like, those are the kind of things that, like, I definitely want her to, like, know how to do. Mm-hmm. Like, I want her to just be, like, the better version. All my kids, like, just be a better version of me. Like, I don't care, if you're a son or a daughter, even though I only have the daughter and my goddaughters, but, like, just be a better version of me.
Right.
So, like, I want her to learn those kinds of things. I know, like, when I take her to Walmart and, like, I'm, like, impulse buying and I'm, like, messing off money, I'm, like, consciously, like, listen, you got to be better than Dada. You got to be better than me. You got to be better with money than me. So, like, I'll call out the things that, like, I want to improve on. Like, y'all see, like, I'm always doing too much. So, running here, running there, I'm like, yo, you got to be more on time than me and your mom. Like, those are the things that, like, I'm calling out, like, what I want to, like, improve, but it's also, like, a way of me being accountable. Because when I'm taking her to school and she like, oh, we late again, or I'm like, oh, so she know, and, like, she's annoyed now, too. And it's like, okay, well, hopefully she's annoyed enough to not want to be that way when she grows up. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. That's my approach.
Yo, that's crazy that you even bring the late school thing up. So, like, I'm thinking about during summer camp. All summer, Layla was, like, the summer camp every single day. Tight with me because I'm just like, oh, man, I gotta get up, take you to camp, like, right. Not making a big deal out of it. But she's like, yo, let's go. I want to be at camp one time. So like one morning, got up late. She like, I got a field trip. I'm like, what time is the bus leaving? 9 o'clock. I'm like, all right, so we gotta get up, rush, get you. I'm like, all right, I learned my lesson. We're not gonna be late for camp no more, right? Because now you mad at me because you almost missed the field trip. No, but thinking about like you, I don't know, change the tire either. I'm calling Geico, and they can send their people out, change the tire. I don't have time. But I try to have Layla around me whenever I'm doing stuff around the house. So, like, I think y'all both know, I've talked about this, like, cutting my lawn is, like, therapeutic. I love being in my yard, just doing stuff in my yard. So, I remember during COVID, right, I had this pool of water just in my yard. It just wouldn't go anywhere. So I was looking up stuff online. They like build a French drain. I'm like, I've never done this before. All right, so look up all the materials I need. Go to Home Depot, go get the stuff. Layla's with me. So next thing you know, we in the yard. We digging this trench. That's got to go down at least, said 6 feet. I wasn't digging down that deep. It was like 4. But we built a French drain. So now she know how to build a French drain.
That's what's up.
She carrying mulch from the car to the different areas in the yard. I'm recording her, putting it on Facebook. People like, you make your daughter do stuff like that? Yeah, this is daddy-daughter bonding time. Like, she's learning in the process. Layla takes the trash out. She washes dishes. Now, Layla's 10, so she can do this stuff, but she loading the dishwasher. She's starting to iron her clothes.
Okay.
Like, she becoming independent, you know.
Yeah.
She want to cook in the kitchen. It's like, she enjoys doing all those things, man. And just like, last week, last minute school shopping, right? It's just a million things going on, always running. So, like, we legit go on Labor Day. Or was it the day before? What day was Labor Day? Monday?
It was Monday.
We went Sunday. Caught all the sales, though. JCPenney's was in and out.
Okay.
Then we're going to a couple different stores in the mall. But, like, we going through, she picking out her clothes. I'm like, Layla, I think these pants will look dope. She like, no, Daddy, I don't like those. I'm like, well, she was like, there's nothing to match them up with. I'm like, match them up with this shirt. It was like the pleated pants, bunch of lines, whatever in them. I'm like, trying with this shirt. She go in, try it on. She come back out. She was like, Daddy, you know what? I actually like this outfit. You like, got some style, you know what I mean? But even that triggered a conversation where we started talking about style. She was like, yeah, Dad, these boys now. I'm like, boys. Now we going into this conversation earlier, right? Talking about these boys. I'm like, what you talking about boys? She was like, no, like, they don't really have no style, but you got style. Like, you could be chill. Then I see you in your suits and stuff for work. And then you kind of got the in-between. I'm like, all right, you be peeping stuff. Like, that's what's up. Maybe it's just how much you actually pay attention to everything that's going on, right? I'll stop there because I'll keep going talking about like,
that's good though.
That's good. You made me think about like my daughter because she was like, and I'm mad that today I did it because she like, I'm trying to like, wear this, wear that. She like, you just plain Dada. All you ever wear is black. And I got on all black today too. So like, all you ever wear is black. Is that your favorite color? I know you love black people, but like, do you always have to wear black?
Full-time blackness.
I'm like, it's comfortable. Like, I don't be thinking about getting dressed. I be thinking about other stuff besides like what I'm gonna wear. So like, give me some sweats, give me a free t-shirt for like an organization that like I'm representing, and I'm out the door, like, and I'm good. Like, I had a time where I really cared a lot about that, but like, I didn't know she was paying that much attention to me. And so like when I, like how like your daughter said, so when like I might throw on a suit or a tie or something, like she'll give me a compliment. And it's like, oh, okay. She sees that kind of stuff, and like, so she be paying attention. But it's definitely interesting having the conversation about style with my goddaughter, who's 13 though. I took her to the mall. We was walking through. We went in like every clothing store, just trying to see what she liked. Everything that this girl like had the belly out, and I'm like, why everything you like gotta be like forest green with like the belly showing? Like, you just look like you want to look like a yoga teacher or something. Just like, I was just mad confused, but like I had to like explain to her that like, just understand like what you're going to attract by what you wearing and know how to handle it. So I'm not saying don't express yourself how you want to express yourself, because if I say don't do this, don't do that, that's going to be the first thing you want to go do. Yeah. So like, if I could just explain to you like, okay, I understand you want to present yourself in a certain way, but in the mind of like boys that's your age, when you present this way, this is the message you sending to these boys. Right. And when they respond to you in this way, how are you going to handle it? What's your plan? Right. And so those are the conversations that I try my best to have with her, even though she think I'm crazy.
My daughter 3, so we ain't there yet. But those conversations I have with my wife, because I, tell her it's hot outside. She'd be like, "How does this look?" And I'm like, I give her my opinion. I don't be rude, but I'm like, listen, you don't like dudes looking at you. You wearing that, that's exactly, you gonna get stares. I'm like, you need to think about it. You going to the gym. Like, all right, you leaving with that? Okay, all right. just know you gonna get some looks. So every now and then she'll be like, yo, these creeps looking, and I'm like, all right. But for our daughters, so this is a nice segue into talking about raising daughters and preparing them for relationships with other men. So, dang aside,
I don't want to think about it.
like, one of the things that my wife constantly has to talk to me about, and I say constantly, every so often, it's like, well, you got to make sure that you're intentional about hugging her and showing her affection and all that. Because I'm not that way. Like, that's not my go-to. And she's like, yo, you need to, like, my daughter came to me the other day, she had a dress on, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. And my wife's like, no, like, you need to tell her she's pretty. And I'm just, I don't think that way right now, right? And she's like, no, like, you need to be intentional about complimenting her and being the first guy in her life to make her feel special. And I don't, again, that does not come natural to me. The affection stuff, still working on. But, like, so how do you guys navigate that?
Man, it came easy for me, man. Like, I know I've said this to you guys. I've said it to Jamil too, man. Like, when Layla was born, it didn't resonate with me right away. That's like, yo, you're dad now, right? Like, I think when, over the course of some time, a couple things happened, which I won't go into over this, on the podcast. But, I think when Layla hit age 3 was like, it really hit me. I was like, damn, man, I didn't realize you could love something so much. Like, every fiber of my just being, like, I love her to death, man. I look at her, she's grown up, she's older now, and it's just like, this is like my little twin, man, like, through and through. And just to, I don't want to divert because you're going to have me thinking about the boys thing, and relationships, but just to see, where she is now, she's like the sweetest little thing in the world, man. Just can feel everything, cares about everything, wants to be super helpful. So, like, the nurturing and just it's easy to love on her, man, because she's so lovable, right? It helps that she's just freaking adorable too. Like I'm gonna have a problem, man. She's Layla's a pretty girl, man. It's only gonna be magnified as she gets older. But I think for me, it was something I never had from my dad, right? Because dad was in my life, and to some extent, my mom wasn't overly affectionate with me. But I think I don't know. For me, it just came naturally, man. I think it's easier for dads to be like that with their daughters when they, develop and share a close bond, man. Like, we'll sit on the couch and just watch a movie, and she'll just come snuggle up. Or I'll be in my room, watching ESPN, and she'll just come jump in the bed. And, years ago, it's like she'll just lay there for a little while. Now it's like I'm coming in. It's kind of like peck on the cheek, and it's kind of like her like little check-in, right? Just checking in, make sure you're all right, and then I'm going on about my business, man. So it's like I cherish those moments, man, because they say as they get older, those moments are fire and in between, So I want as many of those moments now before she go to prom and college and get engaged and get a serious boyfriend. And we all know they're gonna have that first heartache. How you deal with that first heartache, right? Yep. Somebody breaking your baby heart. Kill him. But I love it, man, I think it does something for me too, from a therapeutic standpoint. Just knowing that we have that close bond, like. Kids love you unconditionally, but you say that, but it's different when you feel that connection.
Yeah. I relate to every single thing that you said, especially the part where like you're like raising your twin, just and like that bond of like, and really the part where you shared about like not getting a lot of affection from your parents. Like my dad, he was not an affectionate person. Present, but not heavy on the I love you. Definitely not heavy on like the hugs and stuff like that. My mom too, but like I knew she loved me by like what she did and like what she said, but not heavy on like, I had to tell her probably like maybe like a year ago, like, why when I leave your house or when I come in your house, you expect a hug from mama, but you don't care if I hug you. Like, you don't care if I hug you when I leave. Like, I want a hug. So, like, that's going to be our thing. I had to intentionally say, like, when I leave mom, I want a hug. Because, like, I didn't get that a lot. But, like, when my kid was born, well, when my daughter was born, like, I was like, okay, so this is my kid to, like, hug on and love on, like, the way that I wanted to be hugged on and loved on when I was a kid, and I didn't get that. Yeah. And so I'm like, well, this baby is mine. So, like, if I want to hug her, I'm a hugger. If I want to snuggle, I'm a snuggle. Like, like I wish I had that. So for me, it came supernatural because I felt like that's what I wanted, and I wanted us to have that bond. Yeah. And the same thing, like you were saying, like the random time just popping in on me. I just feel like those moments are super special because when she gets older, I'm not gonna have that, and that's to be expected. But like just being intentional about making the most out of every opportunity now, and telling her those things like. So, for example, my daughter, she wanted her hair straightened for first day of school. And, like, I love my daughter. Like, I want her to embrace her natural beauty. I don't want her to feel like, because she watch a lot of Disney and stuff like that, and she around different kinds of kids with different kinds of hair textures. And I'm just like, I don't want you to feel like your hair that God gave you isn't, like, beautiful, isn't, like, good. And so... I'm like, you just want to express yourself differently. I'm not gonna try to control you, but I like my curly girl. Like I like to be like, where's my curly girl at? And she's like, when I say that to her, and she's feeling beautiful and feeling pretty with like her hair being straightened, like I don't want her to feel like, oh, my dad doesn't think I'm beautiful. My dad doesn't like my hair. My dad hates it. And I kind of like, I just rather she kept her curly hair. So now I'm just like, you still look beautiful. You look awesome. Oh, I'm telling her, even though like I'm lying. Like I wish she still had curly hair, but like that's her body. That's her choice to like make that decision even at 7. And I think like being able to like empower my kid and trust her, I think is important. The other thing is she got my sarcasm. So like she knows she'll be sweet and kind around everybody, but when it's just me and her, like she give me like crazy attitude, be talking to me crazy. And my mom be like, why y'all talking to each other like that? Or her mom would be like, y'all talking to each other mean. And she be like, we always talk like this. And I'm like, yeah, but like that's what we do and it's just us. We be trolling each other like, can't be doing this in front of people. They gonna think we rude. So like, but the fact that like she even got like my sense of humor and sarcasm, I think is like dope too. I guess even at this point.
I love that, man. Layla and I have some of that same because I can be sarcastic at times too, man. And she picks up on it. Sometimes she'll fire something back at me. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even want to come back for that. Right? It's like, all right, you're making me proud. Yeah. Yo, you said something that triggered a thought, man. I lost it already, but you just talking about just the natural beauty, man. I think about it was a movie that came out not too long ago with Lauren London with what's the white guy's name? Oh, they had the
Jonah Hill.
Yes, whatever movie
was on
that
Netflix.
was.
The comedy joint.
Yeah, whatever that was,
right?
But I remember seeing, I think it was like on Facebook, there was a comment about how many different hairstyles that she had in that movie, and like I've really started like looking like, yo, she really had like a different hairstyle in almost every scene it seemed like. But I love like Layla's versatility, man. It's just like you got a 3-year-old, you're 7, and 10, man, and it's just like all the stuff we kind of talking about, you gonna see, right? It's coming.
You running right at it.
But even going back to the affectionate piece, I've noticed how it's a shift has occurred, right? So at 3, I'm picking her up, carrying her everywhere. Love that close bond, right? She get a little older, lay a little heavy now. I can't pick her up the way I used to, right? You know what I'm saying? She'll be hurting my back. But now it's like, even when we were shopping, right? We're walking in the mall, and she'll, like, real subtle, just arm in arm, like you would walk a lady down the aisle or whatever, like walking a lady across the street. I'm just like, man, that's different. It's not the same as it was a couple years ago, but still, I'm like, where'd she even see this at?
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That's super cool. That makes me think about this idea that women tend to go for men that remind them of their father, for better or for worse. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary how that happens. Like my wife's father, who love him dearly, my father-in-law, we had similar like character traits, and every now and
love
then,
him. He probably just like you.
in some ways, and every now and then my mother-in-law will like pick on us and be like, y'all just alike, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, like that's so funny though, and obviously there were things about him that attracted my wife to me, and vice versa. There are things about my mother that attracted me to my wife, and so I think about that sometime. But when it comes to raising our daughters, because better for better or for worse, our daughters are gonna look for men that remind them of us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's deep. So for me, I am very close. I got a lot of like women cousins, and I'm very close with them. They're like siblings. But the beautiful thing is, like, we're not siblings. So, like, and their dads are my uncles. So, like, and my uncles all treat me like I'm, like, their son, because most of them have daughters. And so, like, now that we're grown, I'm looking at them. I'm like, you pick that man because he like you pick that man because he like this part of this part of that. And they're like, what? Well, I'm like, your dad do this. Your dad is a street. You always picking street dudes. like, like it does. Like you didn't put one and one together. Like your dad wasn't there all the time. Like my uncle tried. He was in and out. Like so now you picking men that's like in and out all the time. Cause like he had multiple families. Now you got a man that's got multiple families. Or like your dad was like locked up. My uncle was locked up. So like now like your kids got dads that's not active and involved. They're locked up all the time. Like but you wasn't aware of it in order to intentionally break the cycle. Yeah. Next time you meet a man, intentionally break the cycle. Cause like I love you, but like I can't raise my little cousins. Like I'm not their dad. So that's where a lot of these conversations will come in from. Will be like, and they be living out of town. So they like, I see what you're doing like in the community with the young people. Talk to your little cousin. I'm like, I love all my little cousins. I'm the favorite. So I'll talk to them, do whatever you ask me to do. If they gotta come stay with me for the summer, they can come stay with me. But like, I'm not their dad. And none of their dads are dead. None of their dads are in prison. Like none of their dads are like out of town. So like, holla at their dads. Cause like I can't feel that void the way that like they dads. And before you have more kids, reflect and heal on yourself. But for me, that made me want to realize like my daughter is gonna probably pick a guy that's like me. Yeah. So like that's why I have to continuously like improve myself, be honest with her, be transparent with her, be accountable to her, and make sure that like the version of me that she sees is like the best version of me all the time. Like I love being around my daughter because whenever she's around, I know I'm functioning at like my highest level of me. Like I'm vibrating at my highest level. Like I can't. Once she leave though, you might catch a lesser version of me. You know what I'm saying? But when she's around, I am vibrating at my highest level possible, and like that's why I love having her around with me because I love this. This is the best version of me that you ever gonna get when she around. So I think like that's the benefit of like just being conscious and intentional of knowing that like she gonna seek somebody like me.
Oh, keep bringing her to the fatherhood groups.
Sherman, that's interesting that you bring that up, right? So. And I might segue us into that conversation that you kind of mentioned I really don't want to have. But just thinking about how you guys mentioned, you know, your daughters are probably going to more than likely date someone that's like you. I'm hoping that I think that's based on traits and characteristics that you display, right, that they constantly see. One of the things I hope that she doesn't pick up is I want her to have a crazy work ethic, but not to the level of that I'm functioning at right now. Because oftentimes I feel like I'm always running, and I think you alluded to this a little bit earlier, man. It's just like go, 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 go. Got to be here, got to be there. This community thing going on. Got to go do this presentation over there. And oftentimes she's with me when I'm working, right? So she sees these things, and I know she pays attention to it because I remember she did an assignment for school. And in the assignment, she wrote about, you know, she had to pick someone that she admired and why. So she picked me, and then she wrote about my dad is always doing stuff with breaking barriers and young men of color between the ages of 12 and 24. I'm like, she took this verbatim off a flyer, but whatever. All right. But then, you know, sometimes she's with me when I'm doing different bartending events and stuff. So she's like, she always sees me working. Yep. And, you know, I think we have these conversations like, yo, we shouldn't be working all the time. You got to take time to enjoy life, but we don't pay attention. We still grinding all the time. Yeah. I want her to understand that, yeah, you got to grind for anything that you want in life, but you also have to take time to, like, stop and smell the roses and enjoy your life too, right? And travel and do the stuff that you want to do. So I'm hoping that she finds some balance, a healthy balance with that. So that I'm fearful of that a little bit, you know, going forward.
I agree with you. My daughter, I could not agree with you more. It's the same thing. Like, my daughter asks me every single day, what we doing today, daughter? Like, whenever she wake up, so basically, like, what's the agenda? Like, are we going to your job? Are we going to which job? Are we going to Open Buffalo? Are we going to the job downtown with the roof? Are you going to work with your kids? Are we going to be an Uber for your kids? Do you have to take your, because when you do case management, a kid got a job interview, a kid got a doctor's appointment, something like that. She used to like, yeah, chill in the back, like me and the kid gonna be in the front. I'm gonna do my job, but she like, so what job are we doing today? What are we doing? Do we get to be lazy today? Is it Sunday? Can I be? And I'm like, wow, you got more anxiety than me. You talk faster than me. Like, you done processed and thought about all of this, and you just want to answer. And I'm like, we're gonna go to dance class. Like today, we're gonna go to dance class, and then I gotta go to work. Well, what job are you doing? I'm doing a podcast. Like, oh, you're doing a podcast today? Yeah, but I gotta go to work. So when we going to Dave and Buster's? I'm like, after the podcast, but I gotta do the podcast. She's like, okay, as long as I get to go to Dave and Buster's. So she just like, what's next? And then mommy coming to get me. Then what we having for dinner? And I'm like, whoa. You're 7. You should not have like this level of wake up every day with like this level of like anxiety and like productivity. Lord, what are we doing today? And even when like she plays, so like when she plays with her dolls, she's playing school, or like she's playing, like she'll put them in a circle and say, how are you feeling today? And I'm like, oh, I know she's seeing me and her mom, because her mom do the same kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, she see what me and her mom do, so she play work. And like her, like when she plays, she's teaching. I'm like, you play jobs, like you're not playing like imaginary, like you're like. And on her tablet, she likes to watch the people editing, that play with toys. You know what I'm saying? And they put their videos out. So she'll take the tablet, she'll play with it. I'm like, oh, you trying to edit videos? She like, how do I put this here? How do I put that there? And I'm like, oh, I can show you. And as I look up, I'm sitting at my computer and I'm editing the video. And I'm like, oh, she's doing what I'm doing. But like, that's the other thing though. Like, my dad didn't love what he did working in the factory. Yeah. Like, so that's the privilege and the benefit of like what I do get to do. So that's the part that I get hung up on. Okay. So it's not like I'm working crazy at something that I don't love, that I'm not passionate about, that I'm not building anything. Right. Like, I'm working crazy hard and passionate because I love what I'm doing. Like, this is a legacy to me. Like, this is what my purpose, this is what my calling is. So I don't mind working crazy hard at this. Yeah. But like, I don't want her to develop that toxic productivity too, where like her ego, her identity, her mental health is associated with how well she's doing or how many things she's accomplishing or how busy her calendar or schedule is, because that's the issue that I have.
Yeah, y'all preaching good, man. You know, so this making me think about a couple of things. One of the things was this psychologist was talking about in another podcast I was listening to recently, like women use like 7,000 words a day compared to men using 2,000 words, right? So when you talk about like your daughter and just the way that the women's brains work, they can do a lot of different things, think about multiple things and be cool, you know, whereas us men, we tend to think about things in silos or boxes, like, right, I gotta do this first, then this. Women don't have that problem, apparently. So it's interesting. Then the other thing that you were talking about was like the workaholism thing. Yeah. And my wife watches a lot of like reality shows sometimes, and they had this one dating joint on Netflix where I guess these couples they all go out to a spot to like test their relationship. Right?
I wanted to watch that.
Yeah, so it was like, how committed can I be to this relationship, or I go live with this person for like 3 weeks and see what happens, right? Like, are you gonna stay faithful to your partner, or are you gonna mess around with this other person who you being tempted with, right? So, anyways, we watching this show, and this one chick on there was like, she was a workaholic. Like, all she cared about was like status, like working, and she was pressing a one guy like, all right, when you gonna start a business? When you gonna do this? And like, so now he's feeling super pressure, and it's like trying to measure up to what her expectations are, because all she talked about with the dudes that she was interacting with was work, right? It's like, what else do you do besides work? And that's all she was talking about. I'm like, yo, like, I would never want to be with a woman like that. Like, so we didn't plan on my wife being a stay-at-home mother, and I struggled with that at first, but like, it's cool. Like, that's what she's doing this season. It's cool. But like the workaholic thing, like always being worried about producing and owning this and doing it, like, yo, like, just relax. You know. And so I say all that to say, you know, I think you all are right. I think we all struggle with that to one degree or another, with producing, working, trying to, you know, be the best version of ourselves for our community or whatever. But it's like, we really do have to grow better in that area, because the truth of the matter is they're going to, we read the quote by Rachel Cruz, more is caught than taught. They're going to catch what we're doing more than they do what we're saying to them.
It's being projected onto them, man. I think about it even, I don't think it's wrong to have high expectations for your kids, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
Super high expectations for Layla, right? I think some of that just comes from the fact that academically I had super high expectations on myself. Grammar school, high school, college, it tailored off a little bit because I knew I was just competing with a million people at UB. Like, just not going to be valedictorian at UB. It's not going to happen. Sorry. I saw a clip on, it was either Instagram or Facebook the other day, and it was parents sitting down doing homework with their kids, right? And it was like math, and that's like truly resonated with me because I was like, that's me. That was me with Layla last year. Like, I'll just, simple example, ask your kid, 3 + 2 is 5, is what? They're going to say 5. But then when you sit down to kind of do it with the figures, or they got to draw it, write it out on the paper, doing this clip, they kind of showed that the kid didn't get it. It was like, it wasn't clicking that it was 5, right? Okay. And I found myself at times getting frustrated with Layla during homework because it's like, you know this, but why is it not computing right now? We're doing it on this paper. Right. And it's like, I got to, as you said, kind of step back and not project what I'm feeling onto my kid, because I'm just going to make you be more frustrated, and then you're just going to be like, bump this, don't worry, I'm over it. Tears start flowing, and then it's like, now I feel like a sucky dad. All because my expectations are so high, and I want you to get it because I know you know it. Yeah. I want to make sure I want to do well academically. Like, I want to be top dog. But how do I go about ensuring that, you know, that pressure is applied, right? It's like the buzzword of everything. You got to make sure you're applying pressure. I know I'm going to take you somewhere, right? But not so much where, you know, she feel like she a city honors kid and going to want to go commit suicide because she didn't fail the test. Right. Like, those kids at city honors have tremendous pressure on them, you know, from an academic standpoint. Like, I want Layla to do well and excel, but not to the point where it's damaging or affecting her mental health.
Right. Yeah, like, it's funny that you say that because me and Mahogany's mom, like, we were talking, and somebody, I won't say who, at her school was like, she coming back to the school again? And then he was like, yeah, but her best friend is, like, leaving. And, like, they've been best friends since pre-K, and me and her best friend's dad is cool, so, like, they get to do, like, the play dates and stuff like that outside of school because her dad is a real good dude. And so, like, no, she's like, well, I wouldn't keep her here past 2nd grade because, you know, like, at 3rd grade, that's when they start focusing more on, like, the kids with behavioral problems and not, like, the kids who, like, have academic abilities like your daughter. So, like, if you want the best for her, it's probably best to, like, get her out as soon as possible. And so just was talking with her mom, like, okay, so what we gonna do? We behind the 8 ball, like, all the applications, everything done closed, so she probably gonna have to go back for, like, another year. So, like, we're gonna rock it out here, but, like, how do we get her to, like, a more challenging environment? Because, like, she is, like, above and beyond what is not challenging for her. And so I'm like, city honors is the go. City honors is the go. She like, they started at like 5th grade. She only in 2nd. I'm like, no, for high school, like, that's the go. She got to get there, and then from there, or like a private school, and then she gonna network because, like, now that I'm in, like, my 30s, like, the people that's doing business, the people that's working, luckily I've been outside since I was a teenager. I went to a small high school and a small college, but, like, I've been outside, so I met people, I know people. But, like, most people work within, like, their social network from, like, high school and college and grammar school. So if I send her to a school where, like, these kids don't have the brightest future because their parents not intentionally investing in them and pouring into them and putting them in position to succeed, then who are going to be my daughter's friends that she going to call to start a business with, that she going to call to, like, support her, like, through her academic and personal and professional goals and achievements? Like, who is going to be her social network? What social capital am I? Who's the pool of friends that I'm allowing her to pick and choose from. So I gotta like do as much as I can to put her in an environment where like the friends she has to choose from are gonna be young people who family and parents are setting them up for success. But like what I don't want to do is like make homework or academic achievement like a chore or a punishment. So like when I would get in trouble, my mom would be like, go to your room, take the TV out, take everything. All I had was books and the dictionary and could like read the dictionary and write or like write. So like now I always associated reading and writing with like punishment. So like I don't like want to treat my kid like that. Like you get a reward to read. Like reading is your reward. Or over the summer and after school, they don't give homework in first, second grade. I buy her the highlight workbooks, like different workbooks, math, science, just big fun workbook or whatever. And so I'll have her work through those, but like she would get frustrated. And so now I'm like, well, you like spending all my money at Claire's, right? You like going to the mall. You like buying these little video games. Well, each page in this workbook you do is 50 cents a page. And now I'm going to stop making you do so many of them. Now you got to want to come to me and say, Dad, I want to do this. You want to make some money? Work hard. I want you to associate reading, writing, and working with how you make money. Yeah. So that way, like, when you want to make money in the future, you know, put some work in, and then the money is going to come. So not making it a punishment. Also not trying to bankrupt myself either. So, like, every page in the book she reads is 10 cents a page. Right. So, like, you read a book with 10 pages in it, that's $1. You keep reading, and you keep making money. That's what I'm in the process of trying now, and that's why we got to go to the mall after we leave here. She's working hard.
By the time my daughter get a little older, well, she's not that young, but I'm probably gonna do 25 cents a page.
Yeah, inflation crazy.
Yeah, you made me think about something, a few things. So this other thing that I was listening to the other day, they were talking about how, like, you know, you got to prepare for the future. Like you were, you know, the way you were describing those things, like the gentleman was like, you know, in order to be, you know, where you want to be in your 30s, you can't wait till your 30s. You got to prepare in your 20s. And he's like, if you want to be where you want to be in your 40s and 50s, you got to do it in your 30s. And I'm like, man, that make a lot of sense. Like, it feels like a lot of pressure, but like that make a lot of sense, right? You don't reap your harvest in the same season that you're planting, right? You got to plant first, and then you know, so that which you were talking about, that makes a lot of sense. And then the other piece, and we did this with like a financial education course we were teaching, but it was this whole idea about like commission versus allowance, right? So allowance, kind of, you get the money regardless of what you do. Sometimes parents have chores and the kids do one sometime, but they don't do it, but they still get the allowance. But the commission piece is like, okay, now there's like 5 different things that you can do. We only got like $20, so your commission will be based off this $20. But if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you ain't getting it. Right. So I like the whole book piece, like, because, you know, she don't read the pages, she don't get the money, right? So that's super cool. So as we like kind of winding down here, one of the things I was thinking about too in relation to this piece around dads and daughters is the fact that, you know, studies show sometimes when men know that they're having daughters versus boys, they're less likely to be involved, right? And I think some of that is because they feel more comfortable with raising a boy because they can teach them how to play ball or do whatever men do, versus daughters where they feel more uncomfortable because they're like, yo, I don't know how to do this stuff, right? So, like, for me, it was the opposite, though. Like, so when my daughter was born, like, cool, I've been around women, so I can handle this. My son was born, I'm like, I had a lot of anxiety. I'm like, yo, I'm or not a lot, but some anxiety around, like, how am I going to teach him how to do this stuff, right? I'm a man, but again, I didn't really grow up with my father like that. So I'm like, you know, there are certain things that I just wasn't taught at the times that I thought I should have been taught to. So it was the opposite. But in light of thinking about how some men are less likely to be involved in the life of their daughters, I think one of the things that really like made fathering daughters really cool was the Kobe piece, right?
Yes, sir.
The hashtag girl dad piece, and everybody was, you know, taking pictures with the daughter and so forth. You know, as we're winding down, let's talk about, you know, how Kobe helped to further, like, dads being involved in the lives of their daughters.
You want us to cry on the podcast?
I don't want to cry.
Because, you know, like, we like two of the biggest Kobe fans there are, man. Like,
yeah, that was wild. just making me think like, man, I had a Kobe poster over my bed as a kid. Like, man, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
So that's very interesting that you brought that stat up, because that, for me, I was excited about having a daughter. I was just kind of like, I'm gonna show everything I know how to do. So it was kind of like I didn't necessarily have that fear or anxiety. Like, you know, I grew up house full of women too, so I don't know if that kind of contributed to it or not. But the girl dad piece was like, Kobe has probably done more in his passing than he did in his entire NBA career, like for black men, right? Because the whole idea of having this Mamba mentality, right? Even, you know, some people may not remember it, but he kind of made it popular for a little while. The whole idea of carpe diem, right? Seeing Kobe with his daughters was narrative change for black men, right? Of how you should be with your daughters. Like, I want Layla to get to the point where she wants to pick up a basketball, because then I haven't pushed it on her. I'm waiting for her to do it, right? And like, ball is my favorite sport, but I'm waiting for her to like, Dad, all right, I want to play ball. And she getting to that age now, so I'm hoping she gets to it sooner or later. I don't even think we pay attention to the fact that Kobe has such an influence. His death has such an influence on how we now, I think it's a renewed sense of pride, excitement, and just sheer enjoyment of being dads to daughters. Yeah. Like, take pride in being a girl dad. Like, yeah. But yeah. I have to attribute that to Kobe in some sense. I take pride in being a dad because of the fact that my father wasn't there. But when you're a girl dad, I feel like it just takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree, because I feel like, and I don't have a son, but I got nephews, and I feel like most men, I say this all the time, like, if I had a son, like, I probably would have raised, like, I was 25 and toxic, so I probably would have raised, like, another toxic male into society, but I needed my daughter to heal and focus and, like, evaluate things, like, that I had to deal with, like, as a man, and the kind of man that I was going to be and the kind of man I was presenting to her. And I was like, okay, I got to make these changes. So I'm incredibly grateful that, like, I had a daughter, because, like, she changed and saved my life and made me grow to be the kind of person that, like, God really wants me to be. And I was just comfortable and complacent and immature, and nobody was holding me accountable. But, like, having this young person that's, like, looking at me, like, just instantly was, like, my accountability buddy. And I feel like with like Kobe kind of like being like the marketing arm for being like a girl dad, like, it became normal. So the same way we started off the conversation talking about normalizing like healing and mental health and wellness, like, and making that cool, making that the thing to do. I think Kobe and his relationship being so public with his daughter and, like, really focusing on, like, the girl dad aspect of it, like, that made that the normal thing. And I was, like, proud to, like, oh, I got a daughter too. Yeah. And, like, I started, like, looking at some of the brothers who only got sons, like, yeah, you can't join in on this. Like, this the girl dad club. Like, I can't see my son at Little League, and that's cool. Like, but I got, like, the girl dad thing. And so, like, just being more proud and being more public, I think that gave a title. It gave us a vocabulary word to use, something to like, something to hashtag when I make a post with my daughter, to see other men joining and being a part of that. And I think the impact is longer lasting because of what we said in our conversation about how our relationship with our daughter is going to influence the women that they grow into. So, like, Kobe's influence is going to be exponentiated through us as men showing up, being active, involved, proud, girl dads. His legacy is going to live through, like, the women that we influence. And, like, that's something that I've spent many a quiet car ride kind of thinking about.
Wow. I didn't realize how deep that was.
It really is, man. You think about, I guarantee you, those last moments that they had in that helicopter, Kobe was probably the calmest person in that helicopter for Gigi.
Yeah.
and just probably just grabbed her and had, like, you know, just
Yeah.
the last moments was just him being calm and trying to nurture her and let her know that it was going to be okay, even though he knew it probably wasn't going to be okay.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, we as men are natural protectors of women, but you get super protected over your daughter.
Yeah.
Like, that's a different level.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, we've all heard Nas's song Daughters, and, you know, it's definitely lines in there that definitely resonate, right? That's my joint. But, you know, I was kind of mentioned it earlier, man, you don't want your daughter to experience hurt and pain, but, you know, eventually it's going to come, because that's just life. It's just life, you know what I mean? So I think the whole girl dad piece was just, I mean, everything happens for a reason. I think, honestly, man, for Kobe to leave us when he left us, how he left us, it probably is for, you know, just that, you talk about that legacy piece and just building better men to be fathers to their daughters, man. It was a higher being, a higher I don't know.
It was
meaning to it at work.
Yeah. As we close, you know, you made me think about this sermon I was listening to recently, and, you know, the pastor more or less was talking about that, you know, it's not how much time that we have. You know, some people live really long and others not so long, but it's about, like, how effective were we, right? Like, what do we do with the time that we had while we were here? You know, not that we lived to be 99 or 100, like, but man, if you lived to your 30, what did you do? So listen, man, this was a really good episode. Glad that you were able to come
last
on, man.
thing, though, I'm sorry, I gotta say this, because for men, the idea of protecting our kids so often, the being angry and aggressive and wanting to, like, be the bad tough guy, like, to protect our kids. I think what you shared, because that's the same thought that resonated in my heart about what those last moments with them must have been like. And for me, that taught me protection is also being her calm place. So when the world is crazy, like, I can't beat up everybody. I'm 165. And if I take somebody out and I gotta go sit down in jail because I did something crazy, now I'm really not here to protect you. So thinking everything through logically, and, like, the best thing I could do to protect my child most times is literally being that cool, calm person that she can just come to when everything in the world is frantic. And so that's exactly what I felt like Kobe had to be for Gigi in that moment. It's crazy that we shared that same exact thought, because that's what that taught me. Sorry, bro.
We're going to have to bring this back, because you just triggered another thought for me, man, because can we go there real quick? Just real quick. We got time? 2 seconds. We always preach to young men, right, about decision making, and, you know, one bad decision can just change your entire life. But I think there's a heightened sense of awareness around how we navigate in the decisions that we make and how we move in the world, because we have those daughters, because of the instance that you just kind of alluded to. Like, if you out, you know, I think we always pay attention to our surroundings, right, just as black men and growing up in neighborhoods that we grew up in. But you're always thinking about the fact that if I do something here, that's not going to allow me to get back to my daughter, and I got to make sure I'm here for her, right? I joke about it, and I say, like, Layla's the only person I'll ever go have to sit it down for. And if push came to shove, and it's like it's me protecting her over something else, I'm going to do what I got to do, right? But I'm not going to jeopardize me not being able to be here for her for stupidness out here. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And that's something that I think we put more emphasis on it when you have a daughter than you would at actually having a son, because, man, we kind of grow up with that just
dependence. I'll be all right.
Yeah, be all right. But it's like you worry about your daughters, like, when they not around you, like, for real worry.
Yeah. I know. I was just going. Ain't nothing like that parental anxiety when you got your daughter. Okay, I ain't gonna belabor the point, because we need to invite the good brother back for part 3. I'm gonna let you go ahead and wrap it up. I've been talking.
Whoa, that's your part. All right. Listen, we appreciate you guys being with us as we talked about dads and daughters and so forth. You know, as Sherman would always say, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and make sure that you tune in for the next episode of the Buffalo Fatherhood Initiative podcast.
All right. Peace.